Yo, been a minute. I haven't had nothing to really video since last video, so now I got something new. Still got the Camaro, well, the 69, obviously. It'll be gone Friday, Saturday, but that is 100% done. I think the last thing I posted about that was front brakes, something like that. But since that I didn't record, I put new BMR lowering leafs on the rear with QA1 shocks. It's got new rear tires. It's done. It drives and rides great, especially compared to the Cuda that's still riding on 53-year-old suspension. That thing rides like a newer model car compared to the Cuda. But let me show you what I got now. So at the local college I go to, there's a lady, she saw me driving my Cuda around and she asked me if I worked on them, and I said yeah, and she mentioned this car to me. This is her late brother's car. It's a factory, she believes it's factory original engine that it's been tinkered with over the years, but this bad boy is clean. 2-owner Survivor split bumper LT 350 turbo 350. I mean, super clean, no rust, no Bondo. Even got those nice 80s seat covers. But it is nice and clean. But it does not run great. It smokes a good amount out of here, which it's white smoke, so it could either be oil or just burning gas, and I'm almost certain it's burning gas with the way it smells. This one on first startup, I don't know if I have any evidence. This one on first startup pukes out or spits out some oil. I think I have some right here from yesterday. Oh, there it is. So you see all that right there is from that back tailpipe. But also this engine is just, if it's the original one, it's just tired. It's on its way out. But what I'm gonna be doing to it is just your basic old school car maintenance type stuff. So it leaks gasoline from the carburetor pretty good, obviously, and it's leaking oil up through these intake bolts. So we're gonna take care of that. It's getting I'll show you the parts I got for it. But basically it's not gonna be what I made this and what I made that. This is gonna be more so just she's just gonna putt it around town. It's not gonna be taken on any long drives or daily driven and whatnot. There's a good chance it might need a new radiator. I had it running for a while yesterday just to check everything out, because I drove it home from her house, and on the factory gauge it said it was pushing like 250, but when I got here and I popped the hood, I could easily hold on to this with no issues. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that gauge is probably wrong, but it could be right too. So we'll see when we get into it. I'm gonna remove this oil filter relocation. It leaks oil everywhere anyways. That's just a regular like pipe fitting, which is most likely what's leaking. She said that her brother put that on there so that he didn't have to get under there to change the oil filter. But you got to get under there to let the oil out anyways. So I don't see the reasoning. But anyways, we're going to get rid of that and that Fram filter. Obviously, it'll clean up some space. I got to change the spark plugs, which means I'm going to have to take this off. And that's going to be fun. The brakes need a little bit of work. I popped the cap yesterday. There was no fluid in the back part of the reservoir, and there was barely any in the front. So I'm going to have to throw some in there. I'll probably have to bleed the master cylinder, and then I'll have to go around and bleed the brakes again. It is, I haven't even looked. It is, oh, it's factory disc on the front. So disc front, drum rear. I mean, pretty well optioned car. AC, heat, power brakes, power steering, blah, blah, blah. Let's see what I got for parts. So, just don't, I've never rebuilt a carburetor. I never cared to. It's much easier and better, in my opinion, to just go grab a brand new one. They last longer than rebuilt ones, obviously, depending on how long your car sits. If your car sits like that one does, then once gasoline touches everything on the inside, it dries stuff up. Transmission fluid, it was pretty low. Oil I'm throwing in here is Old Faithful. I put that in everything, especially with high mileage. Throwing some new belts on it. Here's the intake gaskets. Putting a new thermostat in it. It's a 160 thermostat. See if that helps anything. The right oil filter. What else I got? Oh, just spark plugs. I was gonna go with NGK, but they didn't have any, so I went with some AC Delcos. But yeah, I will maybe start tearing into it right now. I need to double check things on the Camaro. I really need to give it a bath. It is nasty from sitting, but she is all back together. Gauges are in. Did I show you guys gauges? I don't think I showed you guys gauges. Let me show you guys gauges. So, I don't think I posted these either, but the guy wanted to throw in these Dakota digital gauges. And these things are badass. Got the blinker. Had to put in a new AC switch panel because on the old one, I went to drive it one day and turn the heat on, and I pushed down and this thing just snapped off on the old one. But I got everything put back together. I threw a little charging deal in here for them. It needs an alignment, and it needs the AC system vacuumed and Freon thrown in it, but she's done. Sits way better now. Sits nice and low in the back. All right, next part. No, we got to cue the intro. I forgot the intro. Oh well. The intro to no intro, no intro to intro. All right, I might get started on this now. I might not. you'll either see in a split second or you won't, but you will, because when the video comes back up, it'll only be a split second for you, but maybe a day for me, maybe 10 minutes. We'll see. All right, so I did go ahead and get started on it because it's not too difficult. I mean, when you go from doing full builds to just doing some, I would consider this tinkering. It's much faster and much easier. But let me show you guys. So obviously, got the carburetor off. This is a torquer intake. It's basically like a Victor Jr. to an extent. I'm not a fan of these. It's especially for a car that you're just gonna drive. This isn't cammed. It doesn't have aftermarket heads on it. I mean, essentially, you're just dumping fuel straight in there and being like, well, best of luck. Find your way. For small block Chevys, it was always the air gap intake was the best intake, even the Chinese knockoff one. But there's no need to replace this because it works, and she's not going to drive it too often. So we're going to stick with this one, but I'm letting y'all know to go with the Edelbrock air gap intake instead of this. Those are the best intakes you can get for a daily driver with decent top end for a small block Chevy. Next, you gotta pull the thermostat, pull the distributor, which I hate doing because I don't have a timing gun, and this one seems to be timed pretty right. But I've done plenty of these back in the day that I do it off of ear, so we'll see how that goes. And then we'll get to taking more stuff apart. I was gonna record this how I have been the builds to where you watch me work, but I don't feel like doing that. So I'm just gonna go back to how I used to do it and update you as I go. See you in a second. So we are in it. Intake's off, cleaning up where the gasket's gonna go. Need to take that sensor off for when I put the intake back on. But not much to it. Most likely gonna need a different thermostat housing. Somehow this came out and the bolt didn't even come out. It's obviously took some threads with it from the intake, but I don't think it's too bad. I'm pretty sure I can get a bolt in there or just rethread it. It's not much. It's just like the top two. But we're gonna hit this with some brake clean and clean it up. Let that dry off. Put our beads on it, put our gaskets on it, and smack it back on. So we got the intake cleaned up. Not perfect, but definitely better than it was. Got it bolted back on. Make sure you get a real good bead on the back of the engine, in front of the engine. Some people use these gaskets. I don't. I just run a bead because most times this corner, where the corner of the intake and the back of the head meet, this corner really doesn't do anything. It'll kind of, once you flatten it out like that, it'll kind of bend up and leave some room for it to, well, I guess you probably put it this way. I've never actually used one. No, I take that back. I have used one, and that's why I don't use them anymore. But anyways, back on. Most likely gonna have to get a new thermostat housing. I might have one that I've had for 10 plus years now, because that bolt isn't coming out. I might try it with the impact, but battery's charging. I need to get more parts. I need to get valve cover gaskets now. Take that off. I gotta do spark plugs, and then just put everything back together. So it is the next day. It got a little dark last night, so, and of course Texas weather It was low 80s yesterday when I was out here, and I had no shirt on, and I was in shorts and sandals, and now it's high 50s. It'll make no sense. But anyways, so I've already been working for about an hour or two. Compressor's off, blah, blah, blah. So yesterday I put the thermostat housing on, but didn't put the thermostat in there. So, yeah. So took care of that. We're got spark plugs out, set TDC, top dead center. Got the distributor stabbed in. I got all the plugs in. They weren't as hard as I thought they would be. I'm gonna replace this water temp sensor right here. It had like 3 different wires running to it. So I'm gonna fix that because obviously I didn't even mess with this one and it just fell off. And the factory, this is the factory where factory line goes, so I'm not 100% sure why this factory wire isn't just up on there like that. Instead it was that wire connected to that, connected to that, connected to that. Possibly to keep it away from the header, they lengthened it so they could move it back, but I don't know. Anyways, this has 3 belts. I thought it only had 2. So that's interesting. I've never seen a Chevy like that, but I've also never had a Chevy with AC. I've never had a vehicle with AC that was 50 something years old. So now I'm just putting all this back together, obviously. So I'll see y'all in a split second when it's all back together. Hello. Back from a split second ago, but it's the next day for me. Obviously, I got the valve covers on, carburetor's all on, linkage is on, blah, blah, blah. But I got to backtrack because last night I was thinking to myself and I set top dead center wrong. So I got to pull the number 1 spark plug back out, pull the distributor back out, set it right. Well, set it to actual top dead center. Yesterday, by the time I had gotten to doing that, I was already out of it. So let's get to it. Spark plugs aren't too fun to do because I can get a socket on the spark plugs, but I can't get a ratchet because the spark plugs are like 10 feet long. So you can't get a ratchet in there. And I need to show y'all the old spark plugs here in a minute. Let's see how long this takes me. This is going to be my put your thumb on the spark plug hole friend for me. So this is going to go in the hole because I don't have friends. I have cars that are my friends. Are you like that? I'm like that. Seems like that might be it. Let's find out. Oh. Turn it off. Coil was getting power. Oops. Oh, that's off. All right. take the power wire. Take the power wire off the coil. So I got it running, timings just about set. Obviously I'm gonna have to mess with it more once I actually have it fully running with the cooling system and everything hooked back up. But of course we're at a standstill because what I would say is the original positive cable snapped right here when I tried to tighten it up. So this cable is basically not making a good connection. So now I even had it hooked up to the Camaro, and now it's so loose and won't tighten up that I can't get it started. So tomorrow I'm gonna have to replace that cable and then continue on. But not much left. That cable now, just hook the radiator hose back up, put the new belts back on. I got them organized. We got the alternator, power steering, and then the AC. I got to go get the AC because that belt goes on first before you can put those two on. So I can't do that right now. But other than that, we're about done. Well, never mind. I got to take that off and then change the oil, put the oil in it. But I will see y'all tomorrow for me, but a split second for you. So we're right back. It's the next day for me, split second for you. So timing's just about set. I think that's where I left off yesterday. Right now I'm working on this water temp sensor. I got the old one out. It's definitely, focus. It's broken, as you can see. So probably, well, I don't know if that's broken, but it's definitely not supposed to be moving like that. Also, the connector they had on it isn't the best. It still should have been reading, but I just feel like it was reading way too high for what it actually was temp wise. So I got the new one in, and if you can tell, the connector on the end, or where it connects on the end, is round like that. So it's not like you can just take a regular like this and slide it on. So I have I found this. I got lucky. This actually is for that, where it just, if I'm trying to do it while looking through the camera, where it just, okay, that's not gonna work, where it just slides on like that. I don't remember where it got. I don't know where this is from. I've had it in my toolbox for a little bit now. The only thing I don't like about this is it doesn't really lock into place. So you kind of got to leave it right there, but you can easily just pull it right off or push it off. But I'm in the middle of splicing it to the factory wire, and then I'll put that back on. And I completely forgot to get another AC belt. Of course, the other belt, the power steering and alternator belt that came off, were still in really good shape, but I'm replacing them anyways. I'll just keep them as spares. But the AC belt is the most worn out one, and that's the one I forgot to get. And that's the first one you got to put back on before I can put the fan on and put the other belts on. So I still got to get, I got to go get that belt. But let's hear it fire up. It's not, I mean, it's just definitely a stock motor, so don't get your hopes up. Oh, I'm missing a spark plug wire. All right, pretend you didn't see that. all the spark plug wires were there. Anyways, yeah, and I have that timing. I just do it by ear. I've never used a timing gun. I've never had to. That's coolant burning off with the header from me taking the old one out. Oh, down there too. But anyways, it'll probably be tomorrow again for me. Split second for you. So, I'll see you in a second. Yo. So, it's been a couple more days or something like that. Split second for you, a couple more days for me. Still here. What's up, Zoe? What? I'm trying to think of where I left off. Battery cable, I think? Or needing a battery? I think it's battery cables. Anyways, let's just see where I am. I don't know. So, we are just about done. Got the battery cables on, got a new battery. Had to get a new battery because the old one, which was still relatively new, it was less than a year old. That was shot. It wasn't holding a charge. And then my battery from a truck in the backyard that was good. I put it in, started it up a couple times, and then it was sizzling. It started leaking acid from the corner right there. And I was like, two batteries on the same engine go bad. Not a coincidence. Something's not right. So my assumption is alternator overcharging big time. So that's what I got this hooked up for. Hey, don't even think about it. You about to jump in there for scratch this. I'm crazy, bro. I got that oil filter relocation deal off. Still don't understand why. I mean, I know why it was on there, why he put it on there, but it just doesn't make sense why it was on there because the oil filter is right next to the oil drain plug. So, but anyways, still kind of fiddling with the timing. I'm having this, I don't know if it's a weird issue. Like I said, it's been many years since I messed with an old school engine. Well, I say an old school Chevy. I had a 318 in that a little over a year ago, and then I had a big block before that. So anyways, I'm having this weird thing with timing. So it goes clockwise, and the more I go counterclockwise, the RPMs speed up, and then I can't get it to idle correctly. It'll idle at like 2,000 RPMs. So I gotta turn it clockwise to slow it down. I kind of forget what that means, so I'm sure somebody will let me know in the comments, or I'll remember after I post this video or something like that. But so I was having that issue, but now it starts up fine. Hey, you're gonna get scared when I start it. Come on. There's nothing in there, bro. Like you're sniffing for drugs or something. Watch out. You're going to hear it click over and you're going to run. But let's see how it starts up for this first time. I haven't messed with I don't remember where I set the distributor, so hopefully it doesn't backfire. A little bit. So I'm trying to think of which way I went. I think I went clockwise, so let's counterclockwise a little. Just a little bit, not too much. See if that's about right. So all that smoke is oil coming off of the header from taking that relocation filter off. What? Oh, I know you didn't like that. You didn't like that, did you? All right, come on, let's go inside. Not a fan, not a fan. Is your brother? I don't think your brother's coming. I don't think he was. Are you coming? Jeez Louise, old man. Come on. Any day now. All right. Let's turn this bad boy on. It doesn't do nothing but I like to think it does. So, that's where I'm at right now. Really just finishing that up, figuring that out. Really hope I don't have to pull the distributor out, do TDC, blah, blah, because it also seems like vacuum leak, but I'm not sure where there would be a vacuum leak because I know everything's pretty tight and the vacuum lines that need to be hooked up are hooked up. So I'm going to keep messing with that and I'll be back. So I would say we are done. I figured out what that high idle issue was. It wasn't a vacuum leak. Is this right here. So this plate right here was getting stuck behind the needle and it was keeping the throttle bracket pushed back to where it was getting basically giving it more gas. I just flipped it over the needle, which I just need to unscrew that needle so it goes down so it doesn't get caught again, because I don't have the electric choke hooked up and I don't plan on hooking it up because we're in Texas and you don't really need it. But that is it. So we got new carb, intake gaskets, belts, plugs, wires, valve cover gaskets, fuel filter, battery cables, air filter. Got rid of the external oil cooler or external oil filter relocation kit. The gauge was sitting at 210, which it's obviously showing that that's where it's supposed to be, because 210 is, I assume, where they want it to run. It has a 160 thermostat in it, so it should be running cooler than that. I have a feeling that the radiator is clogged, just given how everything else in the engine bay is. Oh, I didn't check to see if it was overcharging, but I was going to show you guys this anyways and see if it starts right up. I got the timing just about set by ear. It's nice and hot, so if you crank it over and it starts right up, you know the timing's just about right. Also want to show you guys what I do with the idle, just to deal with the carburetor. Oh yeah, start right up. So that's in park. I like to throw it in the gears and see what it does under load. That's reverse. That's about where you want it to idle in gear, because you don't want it to be dying at stop signs and stop lights. That's in neutral. That's in drive. So we're about 800 RPMs. What do I say? Yeah, that's about right. So idle at about 1,000, which it isn't going to hurt anything. Which I'd like it to idle around 800 RPMs, but then under load it's going to drop to about 600 RPMs, and it's not going to like it too much. What else? So that is it for the Camaro. We'll see what I do next. Maybe brakes, maybe radiator. I don't know, we'll see. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all next time.